Good morning and welcome to the Crazy Train here at Dallas Preston Road, real estate in Dallas. Yep, you got it, ladies and gentlemen. You have jumped on the crazy train and it was your own choice. How crazy is that? All of y'all chose this, just so you know. So like at any point you're having a bad day in real estate, like this was your dream. This was your passion, your dream. You chose this. What a great life. Okay, I'm so excited because Logan Walter is going to be sharing with us this morning. And this guy is just a stinking rock star, and his business has exploded so quickly and grown. And it is because he is so consistent in doing all the activities and being a person of influence. So, Logan, thank you for being on with us this morning. And I'm going to turn the reins to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Teresa. I'm super honored. Can you guys hear me? Okay. So some of you know this. Before I was a realtor, I was a traveling musician, and I traveled about 200 days a year. And now my electric guitarist from that band is my CPA, and so he does my taxes. And so I had the best professional year of my life. Now, keep in mind I was a musician before, but I had the best professional year of my life in 2023. And now my guitarist can see my 1099, which is funny. And so he asked me, how is this happening? How are you doing this? He knew I was on a team in 2022 and was solo in 2023. And as I was thinking about it, I thought about something that has translated from being a musician to being a realtor. I was reminded of these long drives that we would make. So we were not a touring band. We would not go from Dallas to Austin to Houston. We would lead at these Christian events across the country. And so one time we went from Dallas to Birmingham to Green Bay to Oklahoma City. So these really long drives. And it wasn't uncommon for a band member to suggest right at the beginning of the drive that we stop for breakfast at Cracker Barrel, right? Just some really inefficient, Southern comfort food right at the beginning of a 10-hour drive. And as much as I love Cracker Barrel, I was always in the anti-Cracker Barrel crowd because I knew if we force-fed ourselves a chicken fried steak at 8 o'clock in the morning before driving to Alabama, that this was not going to work. We were not going to be able to travel 200 days a year. We were going to burn out. Okay. And so why do I share that story? Because there's a lot of things that have not translated from music to real estate. I'm not an interior designer. I bring in a staging consultation crew for every listing. I'm not a transaction coordinator. I hire Marnie for that. She's great at her job. But there's one thing that I realized when I thought about the Cracker Barrel story is that if you're not efficient as a traveling musician, you're going to burn out. And a lot of musicians do. And if you're not efficient as a realtor, it's going to be difficult. You're going to lead to burnout, and a lot of realtors burn out. And so I thought about this concept of efficiency and real estate. It's a very inefficient business, I think, as a lot of you know. You can be working with clients for a long time and then nothing comes of it. That's not very efficient. And so what does it look like to be efficient in real estate? And I thought of two things. One is building trust with people, as much trust as you can build with as many people as you can. And number two is being willing to have hard conversations with those people. And so I realize it's easy to do one or the other, right? You can build trust with family and people from church and friends, but then having a hard conversation with them about concessions or a price reduction or getting a deal to the closing table, that can be more difficult with somebody you know really well. Or you might be able to shoot somebody straight that you don't know very well, but you don't have any trust with them. And so they're not receiving what you're saying. And so building trust and having hard conversations, I'm just going to give a couple of examples, okay? One is I did a deal with Gehan / Brightland Homes. I don't know if you remember this. It used to be called Gehan. Now it's called Brightland. And there was a new sales rep with Brightland Homes. And he saw that I was showing up for my clients and doing a good job. As I look up to so many people on this call, and I know how great of a job you guys do. In fact, one of the things that I'm getting stronger at is just certain contract things, exclusions. I would literally text Daniel and ask him questions, or Natalie Thanatheo, or of course, Janice or Teresa. But just the way that you guys show up for your clients, that's really what's building trust. And so this sales rep, he saw that. And then we followed each other on social media. So he was seeing those things. He joined a local Facebook group that I had started. And so there was some trust there. And then he started watching some YouTube videos. And so trust was built to the point that when he wanted to list his house in Keller, he gave me a call and asked me to list it. And so, we think about what builds trust, anything you're doing in your community. For me, I have these community Facebook groups, but anything you're doing with your church or with your kids' soccer team or in your neighborhood, all of that is building trust. When we're posting about the things that we're doing online, social media, any video content, that's out there building trust with people. And so the trust had been built with this guy. Uh, Unfortunately, his house was worth somewhere in the low 400s, and he was convinced that 499,000 was a steal for this $400,000 house, right? And he was like, "Man, if we list at 499, we'll get multiple offers above list price." It was worth 400. Okay. Now, I know that we all know that listing a $400,000 house for $500,000 is like eating Cracker Barrel at the beginning of every drive. Like, it's the most inefficient thing you could possibly do. We're going to burn out. It's not going to work out. And so I prepared a presentation for him. It was hard conversation time. So the trust had been built, time for a hard conversation. Prepared this presentation. It ended up being almost a 2-hour Zoom call, which is not efficient, right? That's not efficient at all. However, at the end of that call, he agreed to reduce from 499 down to 439. And then when we got an offer at 420, he was super excited to take that offer. So we went on the market in October. We closed in November. Now he's taking care of his elderly parents, and we're looking for land for him to build a new house. If we hadn't had that hard conversation, I was thinking about this today, we'd still be on the market, right? If we had listed at 499, we would still be on the market today in February. I'd be making all these drives from Frisco to Keller, and I'd probably be contemplating, what else should I be doing with my life as I'm making these long drives? I mean, it would not have been a very efficient use of time, and possibly the listing would have expired. Okay. So that's example number one. Example number two, I had a buyer who was looking for homes in West Fort Worth, which I'm using these examples for a reason. Again, working with buyers in West Fort Worth, when you live in Frisco, that's tough, right? Has the potential to not be efficient. And as we were looking at homes, I could tell there were a lot of homes that fit his criteria, that he really liked, and he was just having trouble pulling the trigger. And so pretty early on, round 2 or 3 of showings, I said, "Hey, I'm happy to show these houses to you. I just have one request." And he said, "Okay." And I said, "If we see something that you like, that meets your criteria, can we write an offer on it?" And just waited for him to respond. He said, "Yes, I think that we can." And I told him, there's no pressure, you're in control of the offer writing process, but I think something switched in his mind. It wasn't even that hard of a conversation, just a direct conversation of, I'm going to have to write an offer to become a homeowner, right? And so we did that round of showings, wrote an offer. I only had to drive to West Fort Worth one more time, and we closed on the deal. And so I'm always thinking about those things, how to build trust. Now with that guy, similar thing. He was referred by a family member, so there was built-in trust there with a referral. And then we had a phone conversation in depth that built some trust, and then sent him a market update so he could see that I was looking at the market, just trying to build as much trust as possible so that when that conversation comes about writing an offer, that he'd be willing to do it. Now, I want to caveat this with something we all know, which is that the business is just not always efficient. So when I went to pick up the sign from that listing in Keller, I also picked up a sign from a listing in North Richland Hills from a listing that did not sell. We went on the market, great interest, offers coming in, and things changed in their personal life and their work life, and they decided to wait till next year. Not a very efficient moment. Nothing I could do about it. And then just yesterday, I had a buyer who was excited about buying a house in Plano. I had all the conversations with the realtor. We had become verbally agreed on what offer was going to be written. I wrote up that offer and then got on Huddle. And while I was on Huddle yesterday, got a voicemail from that guy saying, let's not do it. Let's keep looking at houses. Let's go after the next one, right? So after Huddle, I went into, hard conversation mode, reminded him what he liked about this house, about the opportunity it presented. did not take, right? He is just wanting to continue to look at houses. And so that's my challenge for us today is we're in a business that has a tendency to have its inefficiencies naturally, just like being a traveling musician has its inefficiencies. And so where can we make it more efficient? Where can we be building trust with more people today, which is another phrase for lead generation, just building trust with more people. That's lead generation. And then where do we need to have hard conversations with people? Where do we need to get a price reduction? Where do we need to have a hard conversation about repairs or concessions? Where do we need to be having those hard conversations to be getting deals to the closing table? And if we can be more efficient, then hopefully we can do this for as long as God would allow us to do it. Thanks, Teresa.
Logan, that was awesome. I love the idea of lead generation, calling it trust building. I think that's so powerful. And you're so right on. There's so many different ways to build trust. It's not just our sphere and database that we build trust with. We have to have that trust to be able to have the hard conversations, and we have to be willing to run to the hard conversations. And you're so right that we can't control everything. So we better control those parts that we can control. Otherwise, yeah, we're going to be tired and burn out and running all over the place. So good. Thank you for being so authentic and transparent. And I think everybody can take some great gold from that today. Today